Jacob and Esau traded the birthright for the stew. Okay, the stew represents, instant gratification, material pleasures, here and now. Okay, and Jacob had and Esau had the birthright. The birthright is tomorrow. It's not something that you see right now. It's like something for the future. Esau doesn't care about the future because future is like emunah. That's like later, the next world, some other time. It's not. You don't see it here and now, like the results of the birthright. The birthright represents like a certain preparation that you prepare in order to, for something that the benefit will come later. And Esau doesn't want that. He wants to eat. So he spurned the birthright. He traded it for hayom, michra kayom. Sell your Jacob says Esau, sell your birthright hayom et bechorot chali. From that point on, Esau, he not only spurned the birthright, but Esau was like, him and his descendants, this whole concept, their downfall is always machab, is always the future. Their force is right now in this world. But in the future, the final war, the Armageddon, in the future, in the end of days, they're wiped out. There's no memory of Amalek. So when their first encounter, the Jewish people with Esau's descendants, was when the Amalekites attacked the Jewish people. And when Moshe appoints Yehoshua to go and wage the battle with Amalek, he says to him the following words. He says to Yehoshua, and Amalek came and battled Israel in Rephidim. And Moshe said to Yehoshua, choose people for us and go battle with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. Not today. Why not today? Because Amalek's downfall is always in the power of tomorrow. Because tomorrow represents the unknown. It represents emunah. Jewish people live in preparation for the future. Not the future of this world, but we anticipate this world is a preparation. It's like, we're not going to be here in 120 years. We're going to have to say goodbye, right? Everything we built here is going to be gone. We're not taking anything away with us. We know this world is just preparation for something much bigger tomorrow, right? So we know we're not living for today. We do things, we're always in preparation for something greater. Amalek, he's for now. He doesn't see anything tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. There's just right now. Everything I'm doing is for this moment. So the war with Amalek is whether is emunah tomorrow versus right now. And that's why Moshe said to Yehoshua, tomorrow I will be on the top of the mountain. And then it says when Moses raised his hands, the Jewish people would be winning, and when his hands were down, Amalek would be winning. The war against Amalek was, as the rabbis say, when the level of emunah was high on behalf of the Jewish people, that weakens Amalek. And when Moses' hands were down, that was a signal that their level of emunah was low, and Amalek's power became powerful. And this is a critical point. The Amalek, we don't know exactly which nation it is today, but one of the characteristics to know who Amalek is that they always attack the Jewish people when the Jewish people are in a state of spiritual weakness. When they first attacked the Jewish people in Rephidim, the rabbis say Rephidim is an acronym from Rafu Yedehem B'Torah. It means that the Jewish people were weakened in their commitment to Torah and Torah values. When that commitment is weak, this empowers Amalek, because this is like a covenant between Jacob and Esau. When one is up, the other is down. When one is down, the other is up. When Jacob's strong in his level of emunah, Esau is weak. When Jacob is weak, this like feeds off the energy of Esau, and he comes and he attacks him. So under the surface, there's a battle going on here. So it's emunah versus Amalek. And this is have power tomorrow. Today is preparation. Everything that's going on here in the Megillah shows us that everyone is busy doing different things. Haman is busy with himself. Now we're going to see he's going to be busy preparing the tree for Mordechai. Mordechai is busy doing tshuva. The Jewish people are busy doing tshuva. Esther is doing tshuva. The Jewish people are in a state of preparation over here for the tomorrow, for the unknown, right? And preparation is actually not for the end result. The preparation itself in life, that is actually the mission. We have to live life in constant preparation for something much bigger. And that preparation actually is what spiritually elevates us. So Esther right now, her goal is, today I'm still preparing. Tomorrow, that's when, God's light's going to shine and Amalek's power is going to go down. So that's why she defers it another day. So Haman right now is at his peak. Vayetze Haman bayom hahu sameach v'tov lev. Haman went joyfully and exuberant. But because of this exuberance, everything deflates. The whole bubble deflates when he sees Mordechai sitting in the king's gate and ignoring him as if he's like nothing. He's not getting up or moving. So all of this isn't worth anything to Haman, right? Because a person who wants recognition from the outside, a person who really has nothing, no real self-worth, he always looks to get it from the outside. When he doesn't get it, or when he feels like threatened because someone else is doing better than him, no matter what he has, he can have everything except one thing. It'll ruin his day. He won't be able to live with himself. So Haman, this really, really upset him. Right now, I've been invited to be with the king, the only person, and this is how he treats me. Up till now, Mordechai knows he's going to be annihilated together with the Jews. He isn't afraid. At least now respect me. And especially now I'm near the king. No, Mordechai's his confidence, Mordechai's so tranquil, so peaceful. Only someone who has true bitachon in Hashem, trust in God, can be peaceful. The duties of the heart says, if you want to test if a person really has bitachon b'Hashem emunah, see if that person is peaceful. If he's always afraid, if he's always inside, he's always agitated, he's not living with emunah. He may press a button and say, I believe, but he's not living emunah. Living emunah means that you have a deep sense of peace inside, undisturbed. The situation on the outside could be horrible, but you see beyond the situation. You see that there's a deeper level over here, a deeper dimension, where there's only peace. Where all this world of forms, it doesn't matter. It could all be in chaos, but you know that the level of eternal is always peaceful. Someone who's connected to that level of eternal and sees the stillness in the world, even though there's chaos on the outside, that person has emunah. But a person who's in the world of forms that are always changing, and his well-being depends on his situation, his life situation. Oh, do I have this? Don't I have this? What's going to happen? That's the life situation. That person will never have peace because the world constantly changes. Today you have something, you're successful. Tomorrow you lose it. Today you have love. Tomorrow you have hate. Today you have money. Tomorrow you lose the money. Today you're healthy. Tomorrow, God forbid, you're not healthy. Today people like you. Tomorrow they don't like you. It's constant flux. Your well-being can't depend on your life situation because your life situation is always going to be unstable. But if you know that underneath the life situation means nothing. It's a world of forms. Lies a certain stillness that doesn't change. That stillness is where Hashem is. Okay, and if you're connected to that, and you know that He's the only thing that's really real here, all this world of forms is passing, it's nothing. You could live under, even in this circumstance of Mordechai, seeing Haman and be totally unfazed. That was the level of Mordechai. He not only was like, he wasn't like nervous at all. He was completely calm, filled with emunah, and for sure God's going to save the Jewish people. There's no doubt in his mind. So he's not afraid of Haman. He doesn't respect Haman. He antagonizes Haman. That was the level of Mordechai. And that's what upset Haman. He can't understand how Mordechai could be so still in a situation like this. He doesn't get it. So Haman summons his board, consisting of hundreds of people, to know he can't wait 11 months to see Mordechai dead. He can't. He can't sleep at night after what Mordechai does to him. He is so agitated. This is the person who relies on the world of forms, right? Always agitated, always have inner conflict. One thing goes wrong, everything he may have, it ruins it. So Haman summons his family, and he says to them, and Haman recounted to them the glory of his wealth. First he counts how happy he should be, because I have a lot of money, I have a lot of buildings, I have a lot of things. And all of his many sons, he's got family life. And every instance where the king had promoted him, and he's saying, look, I'm like at the peak right now. And top of that, Haman says, moreover, Queen Esther invited no one but myself to accompany the king to the banquet that she had prepared. And tomorrow, too, I'm invited by her along with the king. So Haman is saying right now, there is no one should be happier than me, because I have everything. But it's all meaningless to me. And he says, yet all this means nothing to me, so long as I see that Jew, Mordechai, sitting at the king's gate. So why didn't he just kill him? Why didn't he just kill him right then and there? Haman is so powerful. He's like the king. And you should know that Mordechai, by not, getting up or bowing, showing respect, he's violating the king's law. So Haman could have had him killed. Why didn't he? Because you know why? Because he was on such a high stature, this is going to look lowly of him to seek personal revenge. And that's the reason initially why he wanted to annihilate the entire Jewish people, because to pick a fight with one person, so he had to have some way to kill Mordechai without it being related to him on a personal level, because that's going to be you're picking a fight with this old man, this crazy old man. So his wife Zeresh advises him. But Tomelo Zeresh ishto v'kol ahavav. Zeresh says to him, with all his friends, let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, 50 etz gavah 50 amah, u'baboker amol hamelech v'yitlu et Mordechai alav, and in the morning speak to the king and have them hang Mordechai on it. What was her advice? What was so smart about that? To hang him? And why so high? Why 50 amah? That's 25 meters. That's you want to translate it to a building, each floor is 2 meters. That's 10 floors high. That's a huge tree. Everyone who sees this tree is going to see Mordechai hanging. What's the purpose of hanging on such a high tree? Because now, if it's done this way, this is the king doing it, and it's not going to be traced back to you. So it's not going to be shameful to you. No one's going to laugh at you for taking a personal grudge. This is the king issuing this for disrespecting the king by not bowing down to you. And that's the big tree, and and you show everybody this is what happens when you don't respect the king. That was Zeresh's tactful advice. So Haman liked it, and the suggestion pleased Haman, and he had the gallows erected. So now Haman is working nonstop this whole night to erect this tree. He brings builders, and they put this up, and this whole night. Now, imagine the camera is going to different people right now. Imagine what Haman is doing right now. He's at the top, and he's ready to hang Mordechai on the tree. He's working restlessly during the night. Esther right now, she's praying to Hashem, And Mordechai's gathering 22,000 kids to study Torah at night. Tinokot shel Beit Rabban. That's what he was doing, the rabbis say. And he was teaching them Torah, and they were praying and whatnot. Everyone is busy doing different things. And now what's going on in the king's palace? The king is so agitated. Why? Because now, after what Esther did to him, he is so confused he can't sleep at night, because what thoughts are going through his head? Conspiracy. C-O-N, spiracy. The king, his thought process is like this. Wait a second. He smells that the fire is burning underneath his feet in the palace, and no one is telling him what's going on. Something is going on. He's sure something's going on. Something's coming down. And he can't sleep. His soul tells him something is wrong, but he doesn't know. But then he starts thinking, wait a second. He thinks back in history about the guardsmen who wanted to assassinate him. Suspicion. He thinks about Vashti and Haman giving the advice. And then he starts to question, how can I trust this person? And then he thinks of Esther. Why did she invite Haman? And now, it's like starting to think that maybe Haman and Esther have something going on together. Especially when the rabbis say that during the first banquet, Esther was pouring wine to Haman more than she was pouring wine to the king. And she was looking at Haman, giving him the eyes. And the king started thinking, wait a second, maybe they're going to poison me. But then the king is like, wait a second. If that's true, I must have someone who, there's someone who knows this. Why isn't anyone telling me this? Why? Because I'm an ungrateful person. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe people think it's not worth sticking their neck out for me because I don't repay people for their good deeds. So the most trustworthy king can trust at this point, he brings the books of Chronicles, that it should be read. It wasn't just like, oh, I gotta read a magazine. It's like, Esquire, to fall asleep. That's not what happened here. He purposely took this book of Chronicles because he's looking who's on his side. He can't trust anyone anymore. And just as he does, the book of Chronicles is brought before him, and Vayimatzeh Katuv, Asher Yigid Mordechai Bigtana V'Teresh. There it was found, recorded that Mordechai had denounced Bigtana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the guardians of the threshold, who had plotted to lay hands on King Achashverosh. He knows one thing right now. I can't trust anyone except Mordechai. Okay? As he's having these thoughts, think about the timing. And now he wants to gain Mordechai's trust even more. He wants to repay him in the highest possible way. He wants to give him like the most he can give anyone. The most. Without giving his throne. As he's thinking this, Haman is knocking on the door. And Haman can't just wait to ask the king's permission to hang Mordechai on the tree that he prepared. For who? For himself. Asher Yichin Lo. The rabbis say Haman was so eager, but he was actually preparing his own death. Right? You see wonderful message here from the Megillah. We're always preparing things, we're doing things. What's going to happen at the end with our preparation is totally not up to us. And you have to know this. Because sometimes in life there's disappointments, there's expectations that you prepare for something, and you expect your preparation to end up in a certain way. And a person who lives without emunah, he sees things like blowing up in his face. He's like, what the heck's going on here? That's not supposed to happen. But if you know that, no, you are just supposed to prepare. The end result has nothing to do with your action. You are supposed to just prepare. That's it. Emunah is understanding that Hashem takes that and he channels it to whatever direction he wishes to, right? So Haman is coming fully thinking he's in control of the present situation. And he has the power. And before he opens his mouth, the king asks him, he says, this guy is the perfect guy to give me the advice. And again, Haman is agitated by Mordechai for not respecting him. And now everything flips. Now he has to be the mattress for Mordechai to respect him. What honor or dignity has been conferred to Mordechai? So he says to Haman, what should be done for the man whom the king especially wants to honor? Now Haman reasoned to himself, whom would the king especially want to honor besides me? He thinks it's going to get even better. It just gets better and better. He's like, whoa. It's like, I got, fortune is on my side. So in thinking this, Haman, obviously his plot is to get as high as possible, and the highest you can get is to wear the king's crown. So Haman said to the king, so you see here that someone who's not fulfilled will never stop at anything. Nothing will fulfill this person. A person who's not fulfilled, okay, doesn't matter what he has. Doesn't have a shidduch, even when they have the shidduch, they won't be fulfilled. Doesn't have money, even when they have money, they won't be fulfilled. Doesn't have children, even when they have children, they won't be fulfilled. Someone who's not fulfilled with what they have, they will stop at nothing, because it's always more. So Haman, right now, he has so much. Okay, he could have settled for, a nice letter of thank you, But Haman wants, nothing can gratify him. He wants nothing less than the king's crown. So Haman says to the king, and this you see how self-destructive it is. When you want more and more, you end up with nothing. Okay? So you have to learn in life how to be happy for it if you have anything. So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king especially wants to honor, have them bring a royal robe that the king has worn and a horse that the king has ridden, one with a royal crown on his head. Then let the robe and the horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble officers, and let this is what is done for the man whom the king especially wants to honor. Then the king said to Haman, hurry then, get the robe and the horse, as you have said, and do all this to Mordechai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Haman sees now everything doesn't make sense. How could this happen? Mordechai, of all people, the person whom I came to hang, the guy who ruined my day yesterday, him, me. So not only I'm not getting this honor, but I have to confer this honor on Mordechai. So for Haman, this is a signal that things aren't going good anymore. But when things aren't going good, it could be like a one-time thing, or it could be like a signal ahead that no, things are going to continue going bad. Okay. Right now, Haman, he thinks, okay, all right, 9 out of 10 is not bad. You have a good winning streak. Okay, one bad thing happened. But it's a big bad thing. Okay. This is the key point. Haman comes to Mordechai. The Midrash says that Mordechai is in the middle of teaching these kids the laws of the flower offerings in the temple. The temple's in ruins right now. But Mordechai, he's preparing for the temple to be rebuilt, the second temple, at a time like this, when the Jewish people are under threat. Why? Because Mordechai, he's so sure that God is going to give a deliverance, that he's it's as if it's already there. Mordechai's pure emunah. So he's teaching these kids these halachot that don't even apply because the temple's in ruins as Haman is coming. And then it says that Haman took Mordechai on the horse, and then he said, this is what is done for the man whom the king especially wants to honor. And this is interesting. He comes to his wife now, and he says to her as follows. Haman told his wife Zeresh and all of his friends everything that had happened to him. He's like, after you gave me this advice and I built a tree, so after this I came knocking in the king's house, and just by chance The king was awake. And just by chance, the king didn't sleep the whole night. And he opened up the book and he wanted to repay someone. And just by chance, I thought it was me. So I advised him how to honor this man. And it happened to be Mordecai. He was the person who the king had in mind, but I thought it was me. I was like at the wrong place, the wrong person, the wrong time. But the word he's using is karahu, from the word mikre. Amalek is the one who says on Asher Karcha B'derech. Amalek believes in blind chance. He believes there's no guiding hand. There's no one controlling what's happening, every detail. It's all chance. It's the lottery. It's the pool, from the word Purim. So he's telling Zeresh this. Look what his wife, look how smart she is more than him. So Haman thinks right now, 9 out of 10. Okay, so it happened. What are the chances that it happened? It's a very slim chance, like 1 in a million that such a thing could happen. Okay, but it's just one bad thing. It's one downfall. Look what his wife says to him. Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but will undoubtedly fall before him. What does he mean, if he's Jewish? She knew that he was Jewish. They've been talking about Mordecai the whole time. She gave him the advice to hang Mordecai on the tree. His Jewish identity was not a news here. So why is she saying, if he's Jewish? Says the Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. No, she's saying, Haman, you got it wrong. If you see that you started falling, you should know, this guy's Jewish. That's not luck. Someone is pulling the strings over here. And if you started falling, it's going to go downhill from here. It's going to go way downhill. So you better hurry up and make up with him. You better apologize to this guy before it's too late. That's what Zeresh tells him. If he's Jewish, these guys don't have luck. They have a God. This is an act of God. So Haman doesn't even have time to do this because he's rushed to the second banquet to be with Esther. And at the second banquet, Esther sees that the signs are starting to take place. This is the tomorrow that's happening. The downfall has begun. So at the second banquet, when the king is so tense and he is so agitated and he just wants to know what's going on and who's trying to get rid of him, okay, after he knows it's definitely not Mordecai and it's either her or him, someone is doing something here. So the king, let my life be granted to me. She just asks for her life. So imagine the flashback from Vashti. He already killed one queen. And who gave him the advice to kill that queen? Haman. Now a second time this is happening? Who's behind this? What do you mean you're asking for your own life? Who would dare kill the queen? And then Esther says, for we have been sold and my people to be destroyed. And the king is saying, who is it? Where is the one who dared to do this? And Esther said, an adversary and an enemy, this wicked Haman. So now everything is making sense now to the king. The king understands that from the beginning, it was Haman who gave the advice to kill Vashti the queen because he's trying to win his way to the throne. And he sees now that Haman advised him to put the crown on the head of the person whose favor Haman wants to be the king. And he wants to assassinate Esther. And right then and there, when the king was like truly hot and angry, and this is another reason why she invited Haman to the Mishnah, because when you want to get revenge on someone, he has to be there. Like it has to be like in a moment when the temperament is very high, you have to act on it. That was another part of Esther's wisdom. And then when she pointed the finger, the king was outraged, and Haman is falling on the bed where Esther is lying down on. And the king comes from having gone to breathe in his yard, and he sees Haman on the same bed as the queen, crawling on the bed and touching her dress while he's asking for forgiveness. But the king thinks Haman is trying to make a move. So to top that, the king says to him, "Would you be actually assault the queen while in the house?" As soon as the king uttered this, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the chamberlains in attendance to the king, said, "Furthermore, the 50-cubit high gallows which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good for the king, is standing in Haman's house." So now it all becomes too clear. Haman is the enemy. He wanted to kill Mordecai, my true friend. And he wanted to take over the kingdom, and he wanted to take Esther. And the king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman on the gallows which he had prepared for Mordecai, and the king's anger abated. So from that date on, Mordecai assumed the title of Haman, and the Jews got the decree rescinded, and they got empowered to actually fight their enemies. So they got weapons, and they killed 75,000 of their enemies, and the Mordecai became the prime advisor to the king, and this day became the last day of the war. Ended was Yud Gimel and Adar, and they made Yud Daled and Adar a day of festivities, and Shushan, which got another day to fight, ended it a day later, and that is why all walled cities like Jerusalem celebrate Purim a day later, because that's when they celebrate the fighting. At the end of the day, the Jewish people, this became such a huge story, Purim. Not only the Jewish people were saved, that's not the story here. The underlying story over here is that a covenant was made between the Jewish people and God. This was like a new covenant that hadn't been like this from the time of Sinai. The bond between the Jewish people and God over here, the real connection, the interconnection, was the light was so intense that the rabbis saw to make this thing a national holiday and an eternal holiday. It says all the holidays will be nullified in the future except for Purim. Why Purim? Because Purim is an eternal light. It shows the connection, the eternal connection between Jewish people and God, and it was a day where a new covenant was formed, and the covenant was the covenant not only between the Jewish people and God, but between the oral Torah and God and the Jewish people. The oral Torah, there was an acceptance over here, as it says, La Yehudim Hayta Ora, Ora Zo Torah. They received the Torah anew, and the oral Torah is what they received, because oral Torah is actually the sages, having trust in the sages. And the Jewish people followed Mordecai on this, and Mordecai was totally acting, out of his own accord. And the fact that the Jewish people followed Mordecai on this, it was a huge, huge step forward in the connection between the Jewish people and the oral Torah, which relies on the sages. So after this, Esther asked the sages, and the sages said that this thing was such. So what do we walk away from this story? So many messages, but we see here that we're all puppets, and life is just a show, okay? And we're supposed to understand that our actions are almost meaningless. Yeah, we have free will, whatever that means. But at the end of the day, whatever we prepare for, whatever we do, the only thing that really matters is that our intention is to do it for the will of God, and to know that God controls, the outcome. We don't control the outcome, and we're just players here, nothing more. And so no one can harm us if that's not what's supposed to happen, and we can't succeed if that's not what's supposed to happen. So all we really have to do here is just prepare. That's all we really need to focus on. But we can't be thinking about what's going to happen, because that's totally out of our hands. And when you live with this level of emunah of, we're just here to prepare ourselves for something, that preparation becomes the most important, not what happens. And this the Megillah tells us, that it doesn't. You can't change this. This is how it is. A person can try as hard as they want for something. They're not supposed to get it. It's not supposed to happen. It won't happen. So don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Don't think about what's going to happen. Just prepare. And your preparation is to live in sync with God's emunah and to breathe and feel him and see him, and 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 get close to him in doing so. And when he peeks in and you see him, be grateful that you see him, but don't focus on the final result, because the final result is never in our hands. So we should all have a very, very elevating Purim. This time is a time where that you have to use this time to really get close to Hashem, and we drink wine because the wine actually releases the inner dimension that's in us concealed. That that everything that we have inside, nichnas yain enters, sod, secret comes out. Just like in this story, everything happened surrounding the wine. It was because of the banquet with wine that this miracle, everything tipped over, right? So the wine here tells us that, wine releases the inner dimension, and it's a time where our inside goes out and we do everything hafuch. It's another theme, the masks and the masquerading. Purim's the only time that shows us that everything is opposite what we try to do. We try to do one thing, something else happens. So just remember, do the opposite. Do the opposite, the same thing is going to happen anyways, right? It's a day that celebrates that, this thing of that opposites happening shows you more clear than anything that emunah is the only thing that's real. Because if the opposite is happening, that means that someone else is pulling the strings. So we should, use this holiday to excel and to really connect to this inner dimension, this stillness that that always exists behind any life situation. And no matter what our life situation is, to remember that that's not real, the life situation. What's real is what's behind it. That's what's real. Connect to that. Connect to that. You'll always be peaceful. You'll not be agitated. You won't have conflict. There'll be times when you fall down and you forget and you get caught up in the life situation and thinking what's going to happen and how's it going to happen and what's going to happen if this happens and if this happens, and then it's going to be over. But then you catch yourself back and you remember, no. There's Hashem in the world. This is not going to happen. Whatever Hashem wants is going to happen. And what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. And that's what I have to accept. And I have nothing to be worried about, because that's what is. So when you live like that, you'll always have that inner stillness in you. Just like Mordechai, even in the worst scenario, was totally peaceful in living with emunah. So that's when you get to a level of simcha, of happiness. Happiness is not just standing and dancing. It's like happiness is just connecting to that stillness and not suffering, not torturing yourself. You're naturally happy. You have no reason not to be happy. Yeah, sometimes you have more energy. Doesn't mean that if you have high energy you're happy, low energy you're not happy. No. Happiness, peacefulness, you can always be peaceful. Happiness goes and comes. You don't have to be happy at every single moment, but you have to be peaceful at every single moment. That's something that doesn't depend on the life situation. So we should use to ask them to guide us, to give that inner stillness.